I have a fantastic show today. I have back with me Colonel Alan West to discuss what the heck is going on in the United States of America. What are Republicans doing right? What are Republicans doing wrong? And how do we find our way forward? Alan, thank you so much for being on the show again today.
It's my pleasure to be with you, Stephen. Thank you.
So, for those of you that don't know, Alan is the former chairman for the Republican Party of Texas. He was a congressman in Florida. He's a retired Army lieutenant colonel, and he has authored multiple books. And I love the insight that you provide. One thing I want to get your take on is Xi Jinping of China is in the United States visiting with President Joe Biden in San Francisco. As I read and research for my news show over and over and over again, I see how China is trying to undermine the United States on a global scale, whether it's militarily, with allies, with the US dollar. Why on earth is President Biden meeting with Xi Jinping in America right now?
I think that the most important thing that came out of Biden's meeting with Xi Jinping is that San Francisco got cleaned up. So maybe we should have more of Xi Jinping going to every single cesspool that the Democrat Party controls in the United States of America, and at least the city will get cleaned up. And but other than that, I don't see any reason why, because Biden is just showing his abject weakness. And the fact that Xi Jinping said that, you know what, I don't want to go to dinner with the rest of you guys. I'm going to go and have dinner with all of these CEOs out there in San Francisco. That should not be happening. We should not be enabling economically our number one geopolitical foe, who is taking all of the profits that they're making and stealing all of this intellectual property. They're not seeking to better the way of life for citizens in China. They're seeking to expand and grow their military. And all people have to do is to read the One Belt, One Road strategy, which is about global hegemonic dominance that China is seeking. It's not just in the Pacific Rim, it's all across the world. You look at East Africa, you look at even in Athens, Greece, they're building port facilities in Jamaica. You look at the fact that they control the Panama Canal. That's what we built. And we built the Panama Canal because of a military strategy to be able to transit back and forth between the Atlantic and the Pacific with our respective fleets. But now China controls that. So they see this as a time of weakness. They're aiding and abetting terrorism. Chinese equipment has been found in Gaza Strip. They're aiding and abetting Russia, Iran, North Korea. So I don't know why we're sitting down and talking to them, because Joe Biden is not going to ask them to be tough on them as far as fentanyl and 30,000 single military age males coming across the border of Chinese origin. That just doesn't happen as a coincidence.
Yeah. Maybe Biden was officially handing over the keys to Bagram Air Force Base.
Yeah. A place that I know very well.
Yes. On Breitbart News, they reported that some of the Chinese officials that had come with Xi Jinping were overheard mocking the United States, saying, look at what they did. They cleaned up all their crap and homeless so that we would be impressed. We're not impressed. What would be impressive would be having no homeless people, right? So they're just openly mocking us. But I agree.
Yes.
It does seem the best thing that's come out of there is maybe cleaning up the drug camps and the homeless camps. But we all know by next week they'll be back, and you'll be able to use your little app to download, and report where someone's, gone to the bathroom on the sidewalk, things like that. It's really sad to see San Francisco go downhill. Just about every major retailer has pulled out of there. Abercrombie and Finch, Neiman Marcus, others. They're pulling out because the economy's falling apart for the middle class and lower, and like people are getting mugged. Like there was literally, I think it was a camera crew from Denmark went to report on the crime in San Francisco, and they literally got robbed while reporting the crime in San Francisco.
Yeah. And that's just not happening in San Francisco. It's happening in every major urban political center that the left controls. I mean, look at what has happened in Chicago, where you have grocery stores and drugstores that are saying, we're out of here because of the theft and the looting. And what does the socialist Marxist mayor of Chicago say? well, maybe we should have government grocery stores. I mean, how does that work? Okay. But that's their mentality. Instead of saying it's the federal policies, or you look at the governor of New Mexico, Luan Grisham, who all of a sudden says, you know, crime and murder and things of this nature is so bad in Albuquerque, New Mexico, we're going to suspend the Second Amendment. No, we're not going to stop the illegal immigration. We're not going to curtail the influence of the cartels. We're going to go out to legal law-abiding citizens and say, you can't protect yourselves, on top of the fact that we want to defund the police. So it is an incredible, you know, phenomena that we see happening in our country. And truthfully, Stephen, how can anyone vote for this? How can anyone support this? I mean, I know that people are looking at the polls. I don't even know who the 40% of people that say they vote for Joe Biden in 2024, they must be on crack cocaine.
Yeah. Well, if they are, they're getting free crack pipes. That was in
That's true.
one of the government bills. I just came up with a name for the grocery store for the government. Instead of the Fed, they'll just name it the Fed Up. You know, like, oh,
Yeah.
you fed up with everyone else? We're still here because we'll put up
Yeah.
with whatever. You live in Texas, and it's no secret that there is a crisis at the border. Why would 8 Republicans vote against impeaching Alejandro Mayorkas? He's doing a terrible job. He filibusters Congress to avoid answering real questions. He comes across as a total idiot that doesn't know what he's doing, but we all know he knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah.
What do you think is going on? Why would those 8 Republicans not, are they just trying to avoid contention before Christmas? What is going on?
Well, that's the problem with the Republican Party, is that they don't have a spine. And the fact that, you know, the Democrats could impeach Donald Trump on a hoax that was created by Hillary Clinton, or about a phone call that was really about the shenanigans of Joe Biden and his son, Hunter Biden. And now we have someone that is the head of Homeland Security that is in complete violation of the Constitution, Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution, which says that you're supposed to guarantee to every state in the union to protect them from invasion. And we have millions of people that are poured across that border. That is an invasion. And on top of that, to lie incessantly every time you're up there giving testimony before the House and the Senate, that's a high crime and misdemeanor. To not abide by the oath to support and defend the Constitution, to uphold the rule of law in this country. So I don't know what those 8 Republicans were thinking, other than the fact they have a yellow streak down their back. And this is the level of disgust that people have with Republicans who say, give us the majority here, give us the majority there. And what do? They run and they tuck their tail.
Yeah. Oh, man. When I saw that, I was like, yes, they're finally going to impeach this guy. And then within like 12 hours, they do the vote, and it's the Republicans that keep him in. And I was like,
yes,
what the heck is going on? I guess I just don't understand this party, you know? Okay, switching to the other party. Yeah. You're a big fan of freedom of speech. I'm a big fan of freedom of speech. Representative Rashida Tlaib was recently censured from her congressional position, not because she used her freedom of speech to be pro-Palestine, but because she kept using anti-Semitic phrases such as "from the river to the sea" over and over and over again, to the point where finally they said, you know what, we can't have that. This morning, it came out that she is secretly a member of a Facebook group that is pro-Hamas. They mock the Jews. They mock the United States of America. They put up images and videos of memes of people being killed, raped, drugged through the dirt. It's absolutely disgusting. How dangerous is it to have a member of Congress belong to a group like that?
Well, it is very dangerous, and she should be brought up on ethics committee charges, and they should look at expelling her. Right now, the thing that should happen, she should not be on any committees. She should be kicked off of all committees, and she should not be allowed to have any type of intelligence briefings whatsoever. Rashida Tlaib is aiding and abetting terrorism. That is a violation of U.S. statute and code, and she has aligned herself with a terrorist organization that has just recently, October the 7th, killed 30 Americans and is holding Americans hostage. You cannot be a member of the United States House of Representatives and take up the side of the enemy. And Ilhan Omar is the same. Cori Bush in St. Louis, she's the same. Ayanna Pressley, Jamal Bowman, all of these people who are taking the side of Hamas because they are the ones, they're the governing authority in Gaza. So you can say that no, 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 we're talking about being pro-Palestinian. No, you're being pro-Hamas, you're being pro the organization that's the governing authority, you're being pro an organization that has in its charter the annihilation of an entire race of people, no different from Adolf Hitler. That's the Jewish people and the eradication of the Jewish state. We don't need to have those type of people in the United States House of Representatives. And even so, you had Republicans that couldn't even vote for a censure of Rashida Tlaib. And so they had to come back and redo it in a different way. So this is, again, why can't we just have people that call it as it is and no emotions, but just the facts? You are supporting a terrorist organization. And, you know, Stephen, we just remembered Veterans Day. And on Veterans Day in New York City, we had these pro-Hamas demonstrators that were ripping down the American flag and replacing it with this terrorist Hamas flag. That's what it is. There's never been a Palestinian state. It's a region. And so we need to get tougher on this. And I believe, and you believe in free speech, freedom of expression, the right to peaceably assemble, the right to petition your government for redress of grievances. But these individuals are aligning themselves with a terrorist organization that the blood is on their hands and the heinous and savage and barbaric actions that they took on October the 7th.
Yeah, yeah. Let's switch to a political topic. More and more, I'm seeing GOP leaders say it's time for other presidential candidates to drop out and coalesce behind Donald Trump. He's just too far ahead. Do you agree with this thought pattern? And what would be the reason for those that are still in the race not dropping out?
Well, I think the ones that are still in the race, and we just saw Senator Tim Scott drop out. I think he was polling like 2.2, maybe 2.5%. He realized that there was no path going forward. He has said he is not looking to throw his support behind anyone right now. I'm sure that politically he'll make a different decision. But I think that when you look at Nikki Haley, when you look at Governor DeSantis, what they're doing is holding on to some type of hope that something will occur, something will happen with all of these different indictments and things that the former president is facing. And they just want to be there in case, you know, they're the safety valve. They're the course of action number 2. But without a doubt, I mean, Donald Trump is running away from this, but you know, we need to see what happens in those first 3, Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina. And I think that if it is verified that he is that far ahead, then you should see the other people say, hey, Chuhoy, I give up, I'm gone, and let's get behind this person who is definitely the eventual nominee.
Gotcha. Yeah, that was my thinking, was that maybe they were thinking, okay, maybe they're not hoping, or at least they would never publicly say that they hope Donald Trump is arrested and jailed for 700 years. But just on the off chance that he is, that they need to be there ready to go.
Yeah.
If not, do you think some of these people are maybe jockeying for like a cabinet position at this point? Or do you think they really believe, even with Donald Trump in the race, they have a shot at winning?
Well, I think that there are some that are jockeying for a VP position or some type of cabinet position. I think that that's something that Senator Tim Scott will be looking for. Chris Christie can forget about it. He's not going to get any type of position. Governor DeSantis will probably just need to continue to be a good governor in Florida. Now Florida has become a preeminent red state. But I think Nikki Haley is looking for something that she could continue to do. And Vivek Ramaswamy is definitely looking at maybe, you know, Secretary of Commerce or something along those lines. But, you know, again, I think that the only case that could be problematic for President Trump will be the one down in Georgia. I think everything else is quite frivolous. But, you know, with these individuals that have come up and taken plea bargain deals, Mark Meadows, Sidney Powell, Jenna Ellis, and some others, I think that there may be some concerns there, but you know, who knows? He may be able to get through that one as well.
Yeah, I wondered if Fonnie Willis's plan was, bring all 18 in, knowing that they're never going to be able to get through all of them, but then start getting plea deals and try to get somebody to flip on Donald Trump.
Absolutely.
And come forward with something. So, okay, so we're on the same page with that.
Yep. It's a fishing expedition.
Yeah. There's a lot of people blaming Ronna McDaniels for the losses. Specifically, Vivek Ramaswamy went pretty wild on the GOP debate stage. Do you think that there's any truth to that, or is she, far enough removed that every state is its own animal, or does she play a part?
No, she plays a huge part in this. I mean, it's just the same as if you're a general officer, you're responsible for, the strategic vision for that entire division. When I was a commander as a lieutenant colonel, I was responsible for developing an operational plan and a tactical plan for my subordinate units to be able to go out and execute on the battlefield. You don't see that with this Republican Party. I mean, you look at what just happened in Ohio, where tens of millions of dollars of outside money and outside influence. Look at what you got in Ohio. And I think that we need to do better. I mean, in 2022, everything was lined up on your side, but Republicans have a problem with strategic communications and strategic messaging and being able to get everyone on the same sheet of music. And that really is her responsibility. The messaging, the raising of funds to support these state parties is just not happening. And so if you have a person in the sports arena that continues to lose season after season after season, they're not going to be staying around very long. I mean, as a matter of fact, look at what just happened here in the state of Texas, at Texas A&M University. Texas A&M is willing to pay Jimbo Fisher $75 million because they don't want to lose anymore. They want a championship team. So I think that Republicans need to have a champion leader so that they can have a championship team. I can understand why we will sit back and allow this Democrat Party to take the issue of murdering unborn babies in the womb up to birth, and in the state of California, even after birth, which is infanticide, and they believe that's a winning issue. That's the exact same policy position as the Satanic Temple of America. Now, when was the last time you heard anyone say that? And that is also the position of Margaret Sanger, who the reason why she found Planned Parenthood was to eradicate unfit human weeds who just happen to look like me. So why isn't that messaging out there? And that's what the National Republican Party should be doing. And she's failing at that.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Thank you for your insight on that. Do you think it's becoming pretty obvious that Joe Biden is weakening, not only physically, but politically in the polls. But his mental sharpness is becoming, they can't hide it anymore. He is having mental issues. Do you think that they are going to try to sneak in Gavin Newsom or somebody else to try to go up against Trump or whoever the GOP nominee is?
Well, the Democrats can try to act confident, but behind closed doors, they're very nervous about this because they have two very, very unpopular people. And that New York Times poll that came out, I guess, about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks ago, really sent chills down their spine. The problem is that when you play identity politics, you have to continue to live by identity politics or you're going to die by identity politics. So Vice President Harris, you would think that they would look to elevate her, but her popularity is, fathoms below where Joe Biden's popularity is. And she didn't even make it to the first presidential primary caucus or whatever. She dropped out with probably like 1%. So what do you do? Because if you get rid of Joe Biden, what are you going to do with Kamala Harris? You don't want to run her for president. So they're sitting around looking. And I got to tell you, in my heart of hearts, I do believe that they will try to get Gavin Newsom in there and bring in Michelle Obama along with Gavin Newsom. Because if you cashier Kamala Harris, then that black vote, which you lost severely in 2016, and now polls are showing that Donald Trump is getting 22% of black vote in key battleground states, you can't afford to lose that demographic. So what would they do? They're panicking right now. They're trying to figure it out because they don't want to seem like they're in chaos and confusion, but they really are in chaos and confusion. And then the other thing on top of that is look at how many candidates there are out there running for president. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. now is an independent. Jill Stein is running for the Green Party. Cornel West is running as an avowed socialist and Marxist. But together, they're bringing in about 30%. And if all of a sudden 30% gets taken away from Joe Biden, which is where that will come from, then they really have an issue. And Donald Trump, if he's the nominee, he could end up winning the presidency like Bill Clinton did with less than 50%.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that would be really interesting because yeah, I don't know that we have a Ross Perot situation, but collectively they might
Yes.
take away enough as a group. That's really interesting. The other thing that you said that was really interesting is just this week I had Larry Elder on my show,
Yeah.
and he said he thinks that they're going to put forward Kamala Harris because they're terrified of losing the black female vote, right? And
Yeah.
if they replaced her with a white male, that's what's his thinking, right? Then I had Michael Savage on. He said, "Oh no, they're definitely going with a Gavin Newsom, but they'll keep Kamala Harris." But you saying Gavin Newsom and Michelle Obama, they could try to bring him in for 8 years. She's the VP, which doesn't do as much as a president, and then she doesn't have to run 8 years from now. They could be starting to set somebody else up. Anyway, interesting. I like that. Good.
Well,
Good.
Kamala Harris does not get you anywhere. I mean, imagine her in a presidential debate, those 3 presidential debates that you have. It would just be her up there cackling. She makes no sense whatsoever. And we have already seen in the 2020 election that Donald Trump won a lot of the black male vote. And so that's still very important. And I don't think you can make up the black female vote enough if Donald Trump got a preponderance of the black male vote. And a lot of that has to do with the military as well.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Okay. Do you think the main concerns of Republicans and independent voters are going to be heard and discussed as we get closer, or do you think that it's going to be politics as usual, where they give out these incredible talking points, but then never really move forward? And these are the ones that I mean. I'm seeing just from running polls in my own community that get 20, 30, 40, 50,000 votes. The border issue, the Second Amendment protection, healthcare costs, inflation, abortion, and the Ukraine and Israel war situation. Are all of those going to be addressed? Are those the main concerns, or do you see anything that maybe I've missed?
I think that there is an umbrella of security. And under the umbrella of security, you have economic security. People are really concerned about, can I afford to get a new home? Can I afford to sell this home with the interest rates where they are? The gasoline, the food commodity prices. I mean, you can talk about inflation going down, but prices are still going up and wages are not keeping up with those prices going up. So economic security, energy security. We're not energy independent. Our strategic petroleum reserve is down to, I believe, 17 days or less, 60% degradation. We've sold some of it to China. Why would we do that? And so I think that that's another key part of it. Your energy security then leads to your national security. We look at our military, we're not meeting recruitment and retention rates, and yet we see all of these hot spots across the world, across the globe, because we're showing more weakness than strength. So how do we build back our national security posture? China is outpacing us with their maritime surface warfare fleet. We've got to get that back on track. And then that has an effect with your foreign policy. Again, showing weakness all across the globe. There's a new axis of evil out there: Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, Islamic jihadists, and the cartels. That's a terrorist group in and of itself. And that lends itself to border security. You cannot continue to allow, now almost close to 8 million people to come into this country illegally. Many of them, we don't know who they are, single military age males. That lends itself to domestic security. People don't feel safe on the streets. You're releasing violent criminals back on the streets. We have all of these illegal immigrants on the streets. You're allowing pro-terrorist group protesters to be on the streets. And that's why the Iranian foreign minister can come here and say that if you get involved anymore in the Middle East, there will be attacks on your homeland. So all of those things come together. And then I think the last key part of that is parental security, parental rights, educational freedom. Every single one of those issues, you got the Democrats on their heels on. And if they want to continue, like I said, to go back and talk about murdering unborn babies in the womb all the way up to the time that they're born and even afterwards, infanticide, I don't think that if you have a person that's strong enough to say, look, we don't want to see the wanton murdering of lives in the United States of America. We want to provide viable alternatives. Now, if there is a case of rape and incest, we want to improve our adoption processes and procedures. We want to work with churches to do that and some other nonprofits. Let's start offering solutions instead of just saying that, you just chop up a baby in the womb. That's the means by which we're going to continue birth control in America. No. So I think that if we just look at that umbrella of security and break it down between economic, energy, national security, foreign policy, border security, domestic security, and parental security. Because right now, Stephen, you've got a government that is telling parents, your children don't belong to you. And when you look at what passed in Ohio, said that you as a parent, if your child wants to go out and have an abortion, they don't have to tell you. If your child in Ohio wants to go out and mutilate their body and change their body parts, they don't have to tell you. So I think that's going to be a huge issue as well.
Oh, well, interesting. Okay, final question. I appreciate you coming on. You mentioned the best thing to come out of the China-San Francisco meeting was cleaning it up. Maybe they'll head to Chicago next. But the mayor of Chicago recently held like a city meeting where he announced that he would use even more taxpayer money to help illegal immigrants. He was booed heavily, but said the people just didn't understand. Why do you think these sanctuary city leaders believe hardworking Americans want their hard-earned tax money to go to people that don't even legally belong in the country versus our neighbors who have lived here, contributed to the same system we've contributed to? What can you get in the mind of people like this? Because I just can't.
No, you can't. It really is a dangerous delusion that is inexplicable. But what you're seeing happen in Chicago is that these are minority communities that are coming out and saying, we don't want this. We don't want illegals coming in and you're going to put up tents and shelters at the playgrounds for our children. Where are our children going to go? And on top of that, you have no control over the crime and the gang issue. So our kids are getting killed, weekly in these drive-by gang back and forth shootings. And on top of that, you want to defund the police and things of this nature. So the Democrats have a very serious problem aligning themselves with illegal immigration, which again, it lowers the wages of Americans who want to get out there and work. It depresses the wages and it takes away jobs from people in inner city communities. So this is not a winning issue for them. And if they continue to align themselves with that, you're going to see more unrest. And a Kamala Harris and a Michelle Obama is not going to save them if they continue to go down that path.
Interesting. Alan, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your insight. You've got years of wisdom. You understand this, having served in Congress. If people want to follow you, I'm going to put a link to your YouTube channel down below. But if people want to follow you, what's the best way to do that?
Well, I'm the executive director of the American Constitutional Rights Union. You can find me at theacru.org. We do a lot of work on election integrity and constitutional issues. And then, of course, I have my podcast, Steadfast and Loyal, and you can find that on YouTube and Rumble and just Google. And also, you can find me on Substack page, my Substack page.
Great. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing today. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.
You too. God bless. And if I don't see you and everyone out there, happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.